Hello everyone, Chris from MIDI here, back again with another update for MIDI Surf, and I think this one's really cool. It enables you to export, save, import, and share all of the presets and controllers that you make. And to celebrate that, I've made a whole bunch of presets for the OPZ here that enables you to really take control of the device and access all sorts of different parameters that are buried deep within menus. So let me show you how you do that. There is a link in the description that goes to the MIDI Surf GitHub page. You scroll down to the bottom, there's presets, and there's a list of these presets here. And if you click and open it, then it'll take you to MIDI Surf, and it'll ask you if you want to import from a URL, and you click, it'll tell you what the name is, Mixer, adds it, and then it'll import this here. And this is really cool. You can do this with your own controllers as well, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. It's dead simple. You essentially use this share button here, but I'll show you another couple of ways that you can load and export things. So let's go through the controllers that I've made for the OPZ, and can hopefully you can see how useful it is to be able to control all sorts of the functions that are buried away in menus here. So to start with, let's have a look here. I've made this this synth page here where you can access all of the synth parameters, as well as that you've got a keyboard, an isomorphic keyboard. You've got an isomorphic keyboard, so you can play notes. Then again, like I said, all the synth parameters. Now again, on our Groovebox, and MIDI Surf it works for any MIDI compatible device. I'm using it for my OPZ because that's my favorite music making device, but I use it on my Digitone, I use it on other things as well to control other devices that I have. Now usually on Grooveboxes, parameters are hidden in menus, and the OPZ is no exception. It's got 16 parameters that you can change for the synth. I use more than that actually, I'll show you that in a second, but 16 that are hidden in these pages here, and you use these encoders to be able to change them. Now the thing is that you might want to be able to change, tweak and change these. Let's add a bit of reverb. Right, you might want to be able to change these. Change them on the fly, right? You've got everything there, you can see what's going on with it, and it's sort of hands-on controls. As well, there's other ones that are usually hidden. So style, you usually have to go in here and select it, and I can never remember what encoder is for that because I don't use it that often, but it's actually very handy. If you go to style 3, it's legato. So that's a nice effect. Also, let's go back. You can, style 1 is poly mode, and style 2 is mono. And as well, you can have portamento. Let's turn it right up. So again, this is nice to have. It really changes the kind of feeling of the synth, and I think that a lot of the time that the synth engines on the OPZ get a bad rap just because they're kind of difficult to access, remember where everything is, and here it's all laid out in front of you. Of course, you've got pitch bend as well. Now these buttons down the bottom enable you to select the currently active track. Now I've got it set up so that my OPZ, when you send something to channel 1, which is usually the kick track, it actually sends it to the currently active track. I think this is the default way that it works, but you can change it in the OPZ app, or there's another way as well. You can look at the OPZ docs in order to do that, or ask a question in the comments if you get stuck with this. But when you've got it set up like this, when you change the active track, channel 1 will send the data to it. So we can see here, here's the active track, and if I press these buttons, it'll change the active track, and then this will start. It'll start affecting that right itself. Now I'll show you a trick in MIDI Surf later on so that you can take this and make it just for a specific track that doesn't have that behavior, which is very handy sometimes when you want to be able to play something on the synth and on the MIDI Surf at the same time. So that's the synth one. Yeah, you can have access to things. Another nice thing that I've done actually here is now the LFO on the OPZ you use the encoders to set these two parameters, but they're actually destination and shape, and these are, you know, they're discrete sort of values. You don't fade in between these. So for example, shape 1 is the LFO, is sine wave, sorry, and then it's triangle, etc. So with this you can cycle through them, and it'll go to the different shapes and stuff, and the different destinations. So like destination 8 is pitch. I think it's pitch. And that's parameter 2. That's the filter. That's resonance. Oh no, that's pitch there. And we can change it to triangle wave. That sounds like square wave. So again, it's nice to be able to change these with discrete sort of values. You can see exactly what you're on there. It's not set up for the art track. These are different for the art track. It's set up for everything else basically. But you could make your own one that's set up for the art track. Okay, so that's the synthesizer page. Let's go to the tape track, and I will play a little bit of something to get it into the audio buffer. And now, when I... why is this not working? Oh, it's the filter. Oh, so that's all that happened there. Ah. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. That's something I've just figured out. So I do this all the time where I'll stop it, and then the tape track, you can play it after it's stopped, basically. But actually, if you press stop twice, it clears that buffer. I didn't know that. That's quite cool. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. On the tape track, these 14 white keys essentially play a section of the buffer, right from beginning to end. And then these buttons change the length of the section you're playing. And then as well, you've got access to the parameters, and the parameters can do some really wild stuff here. So I had some delay on it there, made it a bit harder to hear what was going on. Now, if you get it to those parameters, which are usually the green and the blue parameters here that I've got in this XY fader, if you get them to this sort of sweet spot, then it will go into kind of audio ranges for repeating the little section, and it acts as an oscillator. It's kind of like a wavetable synthesizer. It's just repeating this tiny little buffer, and it's getting into audio rates. So, and when you change the section, you're essentially changing the frequency, the length of the section. So this is fun. Difficult to control, but it sounds quite cool. If we put up tons of delay in it, you can get some really funky effects, and you can affect the pan here and other things like this. So the tape track is one of these things that having hands-on controls for is really useful. So, you know, it just really opens this up. Again, opens up the device for sort of performance type stuff. Okay, let's go to, next is effects, and effects is dead straightforward. If we go here, let's go to the art track. Very often, I'll want to tweak and change the parameters for the effects engines, right? And you might want to change the how, you know, the send level of the different effects. Let's add some more reverb. Take it away. Change the parameters of the reverb. Change the wet dry. This is a kind of, this is something that's usually hidden. So this is 100% wet signal, just the reverb itself. And then this is mixing in 100% of the dry signal into it as well. So, you know, it's nice to be able to have that there and be able to change it. Something I usually don't play around with because, again, I forget it's there and it's hidden in a menu. Got LFO again for this, and yeah, filter and whatnot, and all of this ends, including the IO one as well. And this is for effects track 1 and 2. So they're all on one page and you can access them. The next one is the master, so let's go back. So again, this is transpose, so it's got laid out here multiple octaves here that you can go backwards and forwards and change in semitones that transpose it. And it's nice because it means you don't need to go up and down changing the octave. They're all laid out here. You've got the master filter and resonance, which again, it's easy to forget it's there, and we can, you know, add master chorus as well, which is really nice for getting a sort of fuller sound. Same with the drive, and this is to everything essentially. This is adding it. So again, very handy to have this stuff there. It's a bit of a simpler one, this, but you can obviously add it and customize it and change it, add anything you want to. The last one is a mixer, and it's kind of, I've set it up to be a kind of performance mixer. It's got play and stop here, and this is just like pressing stop on the device. You can use super panic as well. You also have these buttons down at the bottom which you can select the currently active pattern, and if I hold this here you can see I'm currently on pattern 1, but I can change it with this to any pattern, and it changes if you're not playing, it changes immediately. Right, but if I do it now, it cues it up, right, and it'll go afterwards. Right, so again, for performance, this is really nice, being able to change the active pattern, go directly to whichever one that you want. And actually, you know, you could set this up so that it could go not just to any pattern, but also to any project. So it could change between the projects here. That's possible to do with the MIDI using the OPZ. There's other things here as well. Obviously, mutes and access to the different mute groups. So let's mute all these, and if you change the mute group, everything will come back. Right? Again, this is just like the mute menu here, but you can just control it off of this. And that's, you know, you can actually directly control the levels. Let's pan this to the left. Right. So again, all sorts of, you know, like I said, sort of performance mixer, so you can change the current levels, things. So you could add effects, sends, and things like this to this here as well, if you wanted to control that directly. So hopefully you think that's interesting and useful. Now, if you want to share your own presets that you make, press the share button. It takes this big long URL, and actually that URL has all the information to perfectly recreate your controller in it. There's no server involved or anything. You can copy it, send it to someone, they load it up, it'll load the controller into their device. Now, if you're just trying this out, it'll stay there. If you close the app and open it again, it will sort of automatically save it to your device, but it won't. If you delete it, then it'll be gone. If you want to keep it, then you press save, you click the one you want, and then you can click save, and it'll you know, let me show you where it goes. When you click save like that, if you then go plus here and you go load, then you'll be able to load it up, and you can delete it if you don't want to have this saved on anymore. I'll show you a little trick with that in a second. There's also the option to export to a file, and if you export it to a file, then, you know, it'll say, do you want to download this? It's a JSON file, it's a human readable file, so you can actually open it up and edit it. And then if you click plus to add a page and then click import, then you can load up that file. So if you save it to a file, it's got two advantages. You can keep it on your device, you know, and sync it to cloud storage or whatever it is that you want, share it between devices really easily, but you can also go in and manually tweak that file if you want to change things like that. The last thing I'll show you is just a little trick Say, for example, I showed you, this is currently the active track, and you might not want that. You might want it to be a specific, a specific track. And if you could go in and manually change the channel number here, but it would take you forever. The easiest way to do this is if we go to load, and I've already saved this synth one here, and it has an option to set the channel when you're loading it, and it'll change the channel for all of the controllers on it. So if I go, let's say 7, so that it goes to the ARP track, when I do that, and let's rename it, let's call it ARP synth to differentiate it. Now this one will always go it will always go to the ARP track. Doesn't matter what we've got selected here. If we do that in the other one, we go to the ARP track. Now we go to the you can see that this is actually what's going on here is it's controlling the bass track, and then we've still got the ARP playing because it's locked to the note because we were holding it when we changed the track, which is actually something you can do on the device itself, but maybe people don't know about. If you change the track, keep those buttons held, you can keep on playing it, but if you release them, then they'll be gone. So this is a nice way, so it always sends that particular one, and then these buttons stop working after you do that because it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, okay, so that's how you do it. You can load up a specific one. If you have any questions about anything, any of this, please ask them down below in the comments. If you're interested in this kind of thing, you want to find out more about MIDI Surf, or maybe more about audio programming in general and sort of music making, then please consider subscribing to the channel. If you're very keen on the app and you'd like to support the development, there's links in the description for Ko-fi for a one-off donation, and Patreon if you want to do recurring support for it. And most importantly, if you make something cool, please share it with me in the comments, and I can add it to the GitHub page for a particular device, and the whole community will benefit. So yeah, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.